Hey, I mean, truth, I'm back. Yes. Well, anyway, here it is. The essay that I'm reading from Jim Burke's Language as the Ultimate Weapon. Okay. So I had left off second paragraph. So I'm going to start number 3. It says, whereas people generally strive to expand their lexicon, the government in 1984 actually aims to cut back the newspeak vocabulary. One of the newspeak engineers says, we're cutting the language down to the bone. Newspeak is the only language in the world whose vocabulary gets smaller every year. By manipulating the language, the government wishes to alter the public's way of thinking. This can be done, psychologists theorize, because the words that are available for the purpose of communicating thought tend to influence the way people think. The linguist Benjamin Lee Whorf, W-H-O-R-F, was a firm believer in this link between thought and language, and he theorized that different languages impose different conceptions of reality. So when words that describe a particular thought are completely absent from a language, that thought becomes more difficult to think of and communicate. For the inner party, the goal is to impose an orthodox reality and make heretical thought crime, impossible. In the end, we shall make thought crime literally impossible, explains the newspeak engineer, because there will be no words in which to express it. Now, I want y'all to think about that and think about what's being done with regards to the dumbing down of our children. Well, not just our children, the dumbing down of all of us, for that matter. Higher education ain't about nothing. And I'm just putting that mildly. As a person who has gone on for this so-called higher education, didn't teach me a damn thing. Didn't teach me half of what I have learned in the past, say 5 years, from Lex Will and from King Drop and from Hiram Art and from all the others that I cannot begin to name. Just a few, just a handful. I've learned more in 5 years than I have in spending all that money to go to a highly elite university here in Michigan. For nothing. For nothing. I learned the Eurocentric viewpoint. Knew nothing of my own. What I have learned regarding my family, of course, I learned that from my grandmother, sitting at her feet, listening to the old folks. That's why I love old people. Listen to the stories that they tell. There's a lot to be gleaned from these old people. One thing that we have gleaned from them, mistakenly so, is the trust in government. I think many of us, we don't give a flying fig about them now, but it's just the fact that there's this much control over our thoughts, what we listen to, what we look at. Everything is perverted. Nothing is clean anymore. It's all perversion, and it's all their perversion. It's not ours. That mindset is not innate in us. Okay? Just my thoughts. Don't have to agree. It's just my thoughts. Okay, so getting back to this article or this essay, it says, by design, newspeak narrows the range of thought and shortens people's memories. It is therefore ideal for a totalitarian system in which the government has to rely on a passive public, which lacks independent thought and which has a great tolerance for mistakes, both past and present. To expand language is to expand the ability to think, says Myers. Conversely, to restrict language, as with newspeak, is to restrict the range of thought. Chilton identifies the specific features of newspeak that help restrict thought. And this is that Paul Chilton mentioned before. Again, I put the links to these people and cited them in the description box. I'll do the same on this one as well. Where was we? Okay. To expand language is to expand the ability to think, says Myers. Conversely, okay, we read that. Chilton identifies the specific features of Newspeak to help restrict thought, reduce complexity, few abstractions, and no self-reference. So narrow public thought is what the inner party prefers, because a public that lacks the ability to think vividly poses less of a threat than one that can readily criticize the government and defend itself from harm. My people, family, take note. Yes, there are a multitude of babies in the bath waters of all this stuff that we have before us, but it is before us. Don't be lazy. Don't shortchange yourself. If you don't have nobody to love,